Hi, Robin.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi. Today we wanted to talk about surrender. It is a topic that we talk about often, but it is, in your opinion, the masterpiece. So we want to talk about it today. So some people look at surrender as a weakness. What do you say to this?
Um, well, you have to surrender to the feelings that you're having because you have come here as a human, as we've told you many times, to send out a signal in your free will. Free will means you're free. You get to pick how you feel in your experience. And by that choice, the universe receives you instantaneously, and it creates a preferred feeling experience that it will flow to you very effortlessly, provided you let go of what it is that you felt. If you don't surrender to what it is that you have felt, you will hang on to it and you will continue to produce a mirrored result, or things will come to you that feel the same way over and over again, until you let go of that energy, until you release that creation and move on to the next one. So we think that
Yeah,
surrender is necessary. Yeah.
yeah. So how can one recognize that they're resisting versus surrendering? Like, what are the signs that you're in inner resistance and not in surrender?
Yeah. Primarily, a human is not in surrender when they are unconsciously suffering. Let us explain that a little bit. So they are feeling something. Maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's rage, maybe it's lack, maybe it's not good enough, unworthiness, whatever it is that they're feeling. And they begin to actually attach to that emotion and they think, I am unworthy. I am a jealous person. I am an angry person. And they begin to suffer in that emotion. And so they're not really awake. They're not in pure awareness that they are actually creating, in that feeling, more situations that are going to come to them that are going to feel that way. We always try to explain to you that when you invite pure consciousness or awakeness into the scenario, and you just start to view yourself in what you are feeling, the big mistake that people make in surrender is they think they have to change a feeling, deny a feeling, make feelings good and bad, right and wrong. And that's not what it is at all. You're to permit a feeling. You are to surrender completely in the allowing of the free will choice that you have in the way that you feel in your experience. And then in that free will surrender, you become inadvertently a match to your source because you become awakened. You become aware, instead of suffering in unconsciousness, creating over and over again something you don't want, not knowing why you're getting it, to awakeness. I'm actually observing myself in the way that I think and feel. And I know by observing myself that I have a preferred way that I would like to feel. And so that awakeness then enters the field and it starts to dissipate that negativity that you were hanging on to, that you were normally not aware of or not awake to. A human has this right and wrong judgment, this condemnation and judgment of certain emotions. And therefore, when they feel them, they begin to dislike themselves in them and they dislike others in them as well. They don't realize that in that judgment and in that condemnation state that they're in, they're still emanating. That feeling is because that's the way you're connected to the universe, by how you feel. So as you sovereignly emanate a feeling out and you think someone else is the cause for it, the universe doesn't care about that. It just cares about what you're sending. And so if you don't let go of it, it sends you another mirrored result. Here's another person. Here's another situation that makes you feel that way. Let me know. In fact, if you like that or not. If you do, I'll keep sending it. That means you're hanging on unconsciously to the same suffering emotion over and over again. So you keep getting it. Or invite me in, the divine part of you who's awake. I'm noticing how I'm feeling, and I know that I'm creating while I'm feeling that way. Now that energy enters the field, starts to dissipate the negativity that you were holding, releases it from the field, and you can go on to experiencing other things, and flow starts back up, connecting to you, flowing through that energy center, bringing you the experiences that have been created by everything that you felt, that you thought was wrong, by the way.
So how can one let go of the need for control without feeling vulnerable or powerless? Like,
Mhm.
what's the relationship between surrender and control?
Yeah. Well, if you've ever felt control in your life, and you probably have, it's very resistive. You don't like the way it feels. You feel the opposition of someone you're trying to control. You feel the judgment of others that see you trying to control things. It's like you have leprosy. You don't really like it. And so as you choose a feeling, and you move to this dislike of yourself in that feeling, you inadvertently disconnect from your source because it's never going to follow you down that rabbit hole. It can't go to that low vibration that you're maintaining as the way that you are. It holds you in the highest vibration of unconditional love, and it has all the feelings that you've ever lived, not just in the life you're in, but everything. So it has this culmination of energy, of positivity that it is created by everything that you have ever felt. And so it loves you, holds you unconditionally. That's how it sees you. And so when you move to this state of condemning and judging of yourself and being control, you have to understand why one chooses control. You choose control because you have something in the gut center that you can sense is going to bring something to you that you want to guard against. So you might have a feeling of distrust, or you might have a feeling of some type of a negativity that's held in the gut that's sending out to the universe. I don't trust. So now I'm getting maybe mates that I can't trust, maybe friendships that I can't trust in. So then I start to kind of control my spouse. I don't want you hanging around with this person. They might influence you in a way that could harm me. I don't really like you having these certain friends. They may influence you in a way that might harm me because they know they hold something that is calling harm to themselves. So when you get that recognition, you can actually move to loving yourself in control. You can know that probably as a child, you were in a circumstance or situation that you had to guard against. And so you started using control as a protective mechanism. That's the way we want you to look at control, a way of protecting yourself instead of a way of being controlling, domineering, uh, uh, burdensome, the way that you look at it. Look at it as a protective mechanism that you adopted and inadvertently hung on to, and therefore we're getting experiences one after the other that you had to put control into place in order to navigate them. There's a control system that is available to you through your source, of which you have to do no control. You do nothing. Because when you let go of control and you realize that the universe has received you in every way that you want to be, in the way that you want to feel, there's nothing to control anymore. Once you let go, once you release, the flow comes into you, and the only experiences that come to you are the ones that you want. The only way that you would get something that you needed to guard against or control would be that you had an experience that got stuck in you that's still calling out for that same emotion to be sent over and over again. Once you recognize what that emotion is, what is it that I am guarding against? Have I been betrayed? Has my trust been violated? Did I move to control to protect myself after these things happened to me? Then you can say, oh, yeah, I know why you chose that. There was a circumstance or situation where you felt that way, and you hung on to it and you believed it. And therefore, now that's all that's coming to you are people that you can't trust, situations that you are not able to trust in. And so that is your sign or signal. Look around your life. What are you getting? Are you getting trust in your friendships? Are you getting trust in your relationships? Are you getting trust in yourself and in your finances? If you're not getting those, then you're holding something in that energy center that's producing that mirrored result. Got to take a look at it and got to kind of feel very justified in what the whole human chose to feel in its free will. Something happened and it picked that emotion to guard itself against that happening again. And it inadvertently hung on to it. And now it's creating a barrage of experiences that represent it. When you have no control held within the gut anymore, nothing to protect against, the universe will just flow experiences to you of exactly what you want to feel. There'll be nothing that you need to guard against anymore, you see.
All right. So before we got on, we were kind of discussing this, and I've experienced this many times where if I have something disturbing me and I go to sleep at night, those thoughts are just whirling in my brain and they keep me from going to sleep. And you talked about how you can actually use that time to your advantage and what you can do during that time. You want to talk to listeners about that?
Yeah, we want you to recognize that when you go into your slumber time or you're about to go to sleep, this is an opportunity for you. If you are able to go right to sleep, great. Yeah, there are many of you that can't. And if the racing thoughts start and the worries start to come in, if you start to make how you feel about the worries that you are thinking about, you're going to magnify that energy and you're going to become more and more restless and more unable to sleep and more anxious and full of fear. That's what's actually going to happen. And the reason that these emotions are coming up is you are quiet long enough your mind is starting to quiet down. And so the human brings up for healing, what's still in here that I'm creating with? What is it that I want you to take a look at to decide whether you want to keep sending this out or not? Yeah. And how does it do that? It does that by recalling situations and circumstances that it's activated in. For Robin, it can be worrying. She can worry about her son, or she can worry about something that is upcoming. And so now what she does when that worry comes up, instead of saying, well, yeah, I need to worry about him, or yeah, I need to worry about tomorrow, she takes the circumstances and situations right out of the worry, and she goes within herself and says, you got some worries. She doesn't make it about them. They are wiped out of the situation. She makes it about her and her worrying. Why are you worrying? Yeah. What is it that you are feeling? What is the feeling that you have in regard to those situations that is keeping you awake? Yeah. And then as she looks at that in awakeness, in consciousness, she makes what was in the unconscious known, and that high vibration of the divine part of herself dissipates that energy. And she just turns around and finds herself asleep almost immediately. She had it happen last night. She went to bed. All of a sudden, she moved into worry mode, like she does. If she doesn't go to sleep within the first 10 minutes, then the worries start coming. Yeah. And she immediately moved to observation. There you are. You're worrying about something. It's not your worry. You can't create another's experience. She talks to herself. Yeah. And as she does this in awakeness, immediately that energy permeates that feeling, and she goes fast asleep. You see, it's very effective.
Yeah. So how would one know when they truly surrender? What does that feel like?
Well, true surrender comes in when you have an emotional response and you have no attachment to it. You start to feel things because you, in the beginning stages, may still have a reaction or a feeling towards something, but you will quickly move to surrendering that feeling, and then knowing that there was a preference created because of that feeling. So you will not necessarily attach to or hang on to it. But part of this is occurring not just because you are efforting or you are aware, it's occurring through flow. So as we teach you the practice of surrender and self-awareness and observing oneself, you're allowing more divine flow by your invitation, awakeness, to come to you in slumber, unconsciousness, and you're starting to wipe out some of the negativity, which is creating a vibration that's starting to rise your consciousness. And we have talked about this before too. When consciousness rises, it goes to places where old emotions don't exist, or they're not as attachable. So in the beginning stages, the first stage you'll notice is you're not quite as attached to it. You feel angry, but no big deal. You let go of it pretty easily. There's a little ping of jealousy. You quickly are able to disregard it, where maybe in the past you could not do that with either of those things. But as consciousness continues to expand to higher levels, those emotions will move to the point where they're not available for choosing. So maybe someone will do something, your husband will do something maybe that would normally make you jealous, and you'll even be used to picking jealousy or feeling it, and you'll go to feel it, and it won't be there. And you'll be kind of stupefied by it. You'll think, where's my response? Where's my anger? Where's my jealousy that I normally would choose in this example? So it'll become really perceivable to you that something in reality has changed here. I'm not the same. I'm not feeling the same. I'm not going to the same emotions. And it's not that you have efforted. It's not that you have really done the work on yourself. Well, you have to some degree if you're observing, but it's not by pushing something out or denying something or enforcing something. It's by you observing something and loving something that the flow gets in and lifts your consciousness up, where their old choices that you used to pick are not there.
Okay. And I think this is a good line that you had stated before. You said that emotion has come to show you what is preventing your flow. And I think that's really important, because oftentimes when someone is having what they deem an icky emotion, they just want to rid themselves of it. They don't want to think about it. But that really is a precious tool for them to use so that they can get themselves into flow.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. And further, if you can get to appreciation and gratitude for the human experience, and as you said, some of those emotions are very difficult. It's not an easy thing to navigate or to feel. Some of the things that a human has to go through in their experience, and then to move to judgment and condemnation and the removal of that feeling and the denying of that feeling is a very self-deprecating thing that you do. And it actually really lowers the tone and causes an expansion of negativity. So when you have something that you don't like the feel of, it is very important that you just move to observing and the recognition that you are creating through a feeling that feels like to you negativity, but you are knowing that you are being received in love, that that feeling is going to be immediately lifted and transmuted. This will create more flow being allowed in to dissipate that energy and an eventual rise in your consciousness that we just talked about. And there is greener grass or something coming in the future where it's going to get easier and easier. When we tell a human that eventually they will create from happiness and joy, they're finding a hard time believing that because they think they're going to have to do it, but you don't. Yeah, the divine does it. And so what happens is you get lifted in consciousness, as Robin explained to you, where you go to reach for something and you don't have the same emotion, but you very much feel like the same person in the same place. And you will remember when you did feel that way.
Yeah.
However, you are not feeling that way. And it isn't because you have efforted, denied, or changed that emotion or been a better human. It's because you got the teaching of observing yourself and allowing more flow to reach you, which elevates your consciousness where that opportunity just becomes available to you.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying by that now, because I have experienced that where I'm reaching for something and it feels like familiar, and I don't
Yeah.
really have that same response. I completely get that. And I
It's
think
vivifying, even, Heidi, because it'll almost feel like you want to make yourself feel it because you've done it
yeah,
so often. Yeah. Mhm.
yes. And it also reminded me of the time that you said, when you change from a child to an adolescent to an adult, it's not through efforting. It just happens
Yes.
slowly, gradually over time, and you just make this change. And it's exactly the same with this.
Mhm.
Slowly over time, when you're loving these emotions and working through them, all of a sudden, one day you go for that emotion or that feeling that was associated with that emotion, and you can't find it anymore. So I definitely can relate to that.
And this actually brings up an interesting question because I think someone brought up a question in Q&A about why can't the divine just lift off all of our negativity if we ask them to? Yeah.
Yeah,
And we responded to that question because it has to feel you. Yeah. And so
yeah,
until you respond, until it feels each emotion, and then you ask for release or you observe yourself and allow the release to occur. So it is through feeling that you are felt. It is through that connection that the divine can actually enter your field and dissipate energy. So for it to come in uninvited and just dissipate all your energy is not a possibility. It is done through your connection, through sending the signal that it receives the signal, and then through your openness to observe yourself and love yourself by matching your source, it flows right in and dissipates the energy. There would be no problem. It isn't about the universe releasing your energy. It's about you releasing it. It's about you being okay with what you sent in the way that you felt it. So why would you ask the universe to come in and dissipate your energy when you're the one that does it through the love of self?
yeah, yeah. So I know how you feel about practices. You feel like it's an individual thing and that people should do what feels right to them. But do you have any practices that would help cultivate surrender that you can share with listeners?
Yeah. Well, we really want to cultivate the understanding that picking up your own breadcrumbs and following what you're called to do is a level of trust and knowing that is very connective and really serving of a human. Robin, in particular, was called to chakras. That was something that really resonated with her, and she would do breath work into her chakras, sensing and knowing, feeling what was in those energy centers, and use that as a tool for releasing energy. But again, we want to make that delineation that it was used as a tool that she believed in to release energy. We can release energy just in our belief that we can do it. Yeah. But sometimes using these tools or these methods give us something to lean on. It's much the same as using the spinning pendulum or the tarot tarot cards. Some will sit behind the cards and let the cards do the talking for them, but it is the divine aspect and their belief in those cards that are actually making them tell the story. Yeah, so they actually do work, but it is coming through your belief that I am comfortable with this process and therefore trust in it and have great belief that this connective process will work for me, that actually gives your power to the cards or to the pendulum. So it is to understand that any practice that you are adopting is one that you are using to enhance your perception or your belief. That's not wrong. We're not saying that that's wrong. And it can work for you. It absolutely can. The chakra work in Robin's mind for her. But we would tell you that there are many who have activated their Kundalini and they have not done any breath work or chakra work, none of that. And they have had a spontaneous rise. So that is kind of evidence to us. It is possible that it could, but it is not necessarily definite or one that can be promised. Let's use that term. Yeah. But the one thing that we do know is that by self-observation and becoming more loving of yourself, you do allow more flow, which is a higher vibration to enter in, which vibrates those energy centers, creates more spin, brings in more divine light force energy into you, and really cultivates an opportunity for a rise in Kundalini energy, which is a universal consciousness that sits at the base of the spine of every human, that actually helps them to ignite the soul aspect of themselves or to express in human form as a god. It's what they came here to do. Yeah. And there might be some things that you as a human think you have to do that you are very lodged in by your perceptions and beliefs. And when this energy comes in, it just pushes through those and moves them out of your field and then actually puts you into a very satisfying, quite different experience than maybe what you would have thought you would have had in the life that you're in. So that's really the beauty of activating that energy, is that you get to see yourself in your magnificence, in your expression as a god in form, rather than as a human, sometimes in fear, in worry, in doubt, in the disconnective state. Certainly there is a certain amount that you can accomplish as a human, not being fully connected. There's always some flow coming into you, but what you can get by igniting that energy and opening up that field, it would stagger you of what you would be able to achieve with that type of energy coming into your energy field. It actually accelerates manifestation. It accelerates the responses or the things that are coming to you very quickly. You have to be careful what you think about manifests like that. You become an instantaneous creator very quickly. And there are very much higher levels of perception of healing, of different types of modalities that one can actually use, that they could apply this energy to, so that they become almost always in some type of a service, some type of a, whether it be energy work, channeling work, natural healing, they would almost always move into some type of a serving of humanity type work with that energy being activated.
All right. Well, thank you, Robin. Thank you, Athena. Thank you to everybody that's listening, and we will hopefully be more regular and current. We did a good job last week. We got on twice, and we hope to do that every week now. So thank you very much, everyone.
Good day.